chosen one. Why does November 21st terrify the enemy more than any other day this year? Why has hell been whispering lies in your ear for the past 3 weeks, telling you to ignore this Friday? Why do you feel that strange weight in your chest right now, like something you can't name is about to collide with your destiny? Listen to me carefully. What I'm about to tell you will shatter everything you thought you knew about divine timing. Friday, November 21st, is not just another square on your calendar. It's a spiritual checkpoint, a threshold, an appointment that was scheduled in heaven's ledger before you took your first breath. And if you walk into that day blind, if you scroll past this message, if you dismiss this as just another prophecy, you will miss the specific spiritual action that unlocks everything God has been preparing while you've been praying, crying, and wondering if He forgot your address. Something dangerous is hiding inside November 21st. Not dangerous to your body, dangerous to every demonic delay that's been suffocating your breakthrough. Most people will wake up that Friday morning, brew their coffee, check their phones, and have no idea that heaven is circling their name in real time. They'll miss it. They'll sleep through their own coronation. But not you. Not if you're still watching this. You see, beloved, the enemy doesn't fight battles he's already won. He doesn't waste ammunition on people who pose no threat. For decades, you've wondered why your life has been harder than others, why doors slammed shut when you deserved to walk through them, why financial breakthrough felt like chasing smoke, why relationships crumbled, why your body betrayed you, why prayers you prayed in your 40s and 50s seemed to bounce off heaven's ceiling. It wasn't because God wasn't listening. It was because something was being stored, saved, accumulated with compound interest in the vaults of eternity. And November 21st is the withdrawal date. Before we go deeper, and we must go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let heaven witness your agreement. But right now, if something in your spirit just stirred, if your chest tightened when I said November 21st, I need you to do something. Type "I'm listening, Lord" in the comments. Not for me, for heaven, because God sees agreement. And your declaration opens what delay has locked. Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you in the next few minutes will explain exactly what heaven is watching for on November 21st. And why missing it collapses the door God spent your entire life building. Why does it feel like time is moving slower now than it did in your 30s? Why does every sunrise feel heavier, every breakthrough feel further away, every prayer seem to take longer to reach heaven's throne? And why, tell me why, after 70, 80, maybe 90 years of faithfulness, does God still seem to be making you wait? Listen to me, beloved. What you're experiencing isn't delay, it's design. You see, there are two types of time operating in your life right now, and most believers don't understand the difference. The Greeks had two words for time, chronos and kairos. Chronos is the ticking clock on your wall, the calendar pages turning, the social security checks arriving every month. That's human time, predictable, linear, measurable. But kairos? Kairos is God's time. It's not measured in minutes, it's measured in moments. Divine appointments, spiritual checkpoints where heaven pauses everything and asks one question: are you ready now? And November 21st, chosen one, is a kairos moment disguised as an ordinary Friday. Most people will wake up that morning and see nothing special. They'll eat their oatmeal, take their medications, maybe call their grandchildren who are too busy to answer. They'll watch the news, worry about their arthritis, wonder if this cold weather will ever break. Just another day in the endless parade of days that blur together when you've lived as long as you have. But heaven sees something different. Heaven sees a checkpoint, a threshold, A moment when the spiritual clock that's been slowing down for decades suddenly speeds up, and everything you've been waiting for either unlocks or locks permanently. You want to know why your life has felt like you're walking through mud lately. Why simple tasks exhaust you. Why hope feels harder to hold than it used to. It's not just age, dear one. It's atmosphere. The spiritual atmosphere around your life has been thickening, building pressure, creating resistance. Because something massive is about to break through, and the enemy knows it. Think about this. Why does a woman's labor get most intense right before delivery? Why does the storm rage hardest right before it breaks? Why does the night feel darkest right before dawn? Because breakthrough doesn't announce itself with trumpets and parades. It arrives disguised as one more test you're too tired to take. And that's exactly what November 21st is. One more test. But not just any test. This is the final exam on everything you've become in the furnace of your years. You've survived betrayals that should have destroyed your faith. You've buried people you thought you'd grow old with. You've sat through Thanksgivings where empty chairs screamed louder than the few voices still gathered around your table. You've prayed prayers that seemed to evaporate before they left your lips. You've trusted God through diagnoses, through financial collapse, through children who walked away, through seasons so dark you wondered if dawn was even coming. And because you've endured so much, because you're still standing when others fell, heaven must test what you've become. Not to punish you, to promote you. You see, God doesn't test you to see if you'll break. He already knows you won't. You've proven that. He tests you to reveal what's been forged inside you, to show you what decades of faithfulness have created, to activate the authority you didn't know you'd been carrying. In Deuteronomy 8:2, Moses reminded Israel, "Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands." 40 years. An entire generation walking in circles, wondering if they'd ever see the promised land. But God wasn't lost. He was watching, testing, refining, preparing them for a land they weren't ready for yet. You've been in your wilderness for how long now? 40 years? 50? Longer? And you've been asking the same question the Israelites asked. God, have you forgotten the way home? But what if God hasn't forgotten? What if he's been waiting for you to become someone strong enough to handle what he's about to hand you? What if November 21st is the day he finally says, now you're ready. Now you can carry this. Because here's what nobody tells you about divine promotion. It always comes wrapped in one final test. Abraham waited until he was 100 years old, then God asked for Isaac. Job lost everything, then God asked him to worship anyway. Jesus fasted 40 days, then the devil showed up with 3 temptations right before his public ministry began. The test doesn't come when you're strong and ready. It comes when you're exhausted and done, because that's when your response reveals what's really inside you. Faith or formula, trust or transaction, surrender or survival. Right now, some of you are thinking, I'm too tired for another test. I've given God everything I have. I don't have another ounce of fight left in me. And that's exactly where heaven needs you to be. Empty, depleted, at the end of yourself. Because only empty vessels can be filled with new wine. Jesus said in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." Notice he didn't say, "Come to me when you're strong." He said, "Come when you're weary." Because divine strength only flows when human strength runs out. November 21st is your moment to come weary, to show up empty, to arrive at the checkpoint with nothing left but obedience. And that obedience, that one specific spiritual action God is watching for, will determine whether the door he's been building swings open or slams shut. But what exactly is that action? What must you not skip? What is heaven measuring on November 21st that will make or break your breakthrough? Stay with me. Because what I'm about to reveal in the next few minutes will explain exactly what God is asking for and why most believers will miss it completely, not because they're rebellious, but because they're looking in the wrong direction. You know what breaks my heart? It's not the battles you fought. It's not even the doors that slammed in your face. What breaks my heart is how close you've come to breakthrough, only to choose comfort at the final moment. Let me ask you something that might sting. How many times in your life have you felt that stirring, that holy restlessness in your chest, and you said tomorrow? How many times did God whisper your name and you responded with, "I'm too tired right now, Lord"? How many divine appointments did you sleep through because the enemy convinced you that rest was more important than obedience? November 21st is coming, and beloved, it carries a trap so subtle, so wrapped in the ordinary rhythms of your Friday morning routine, that most people will choose their coffee and comfort over the collision heaven has orchestrated. You see, the enemy has learned something about you over these 70, 80, 90 years you've been breathing. He's studied your patterns. He knows you're tired. He knows your knees ache. He knows that by Friday evening, all you want is your recliner and the television that asks nothing of you. He's counting on it. The devil doesn't need to break you anymore. You survived too much for that. You walked through fires that should have consumed you. You endured losses that would have destroyed weaker souls. No, he can't break you. But he can slow you. He can whisper one word that has stolen more destinies than any demon in hell. Later. Later. That poison dressed as wisdom. That thief disguised as common sense. Think about Moses at the burning bush, 80 years old, tending sheep, probably thinking his significant years had passed. And God shows up in fire and says, "Now, today, this moment." But what if Moses had said, "Lord, I'm 80. Let me think about this. Let me rest up first. Let me get my affairs in order. Come back next week"? Israel would have died in Egypt. Millions of souls would have perished in bondage because one man chose delay over decision. Hebrews 3:15 warns us with terrifying clarity. Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready. Today. And I need you to understand something that's going to shake you. November 21st is your today. It's the moment heaven has been building toward while you've been praying, weeping, wondering if God was listening. Every closed door, every financial drought, every health crisis, every relationship that crumbled, they were all positioning you for a train that arrives on one specific platform at one specific time. And the enemy's entire strategy is to make you miss it by choosing comfort over calling. Listen to me carefully. I'm not talking about physical comfort. I'm talking about the comfort of familiar disappointment, the comfort of low expectations, the comfort of telling yourself, "I'm too old for God to use me now," the comfort of settling into the narrative that your best years are behind you, that your season of significance has passed, that you're just marking time until heaven calls you home. That's the trap, and it's wrapped in everything that feels safe, reasonable, and age-appropriate. But God didn't preserve you through everything you've survived just so you could retire from purpose. He didn't keep you breathing through the heart attack, the diagnosis, the loss of your spouse, the betrayal of your children. He didn't sustain you through all of that so you could spend your final years in spiritual hibernation. There's a reason you're still here, and November 21st is the day that reason comes into focus. Here's what the enemy knows that you've forgotten. The greatest moves of God often require the smallest acts of obedience. It's not about climbing mountains anymore. It's not about grand gestures or superhuman strength. It's about one specific action, one decision that aligns your spirit with heaven's timing. But if you miss it, if you choose the comfort of your routine over the call of your destiny, the door collapses. Not because God is petty, but because divine appointments operate on divine timing. The train doesn't wait. The window doesn't stay open indefinitely. Think about the paralytic man at the pool of Bethesda in John chapter 5. 38 years he'd been lying there. 38 years of watching others get their healing while he stayed stuck. And when Jesus finally shows up and asks, "Do you want to be healed?" That seems like an obvious question, doesn't it? Of course he wants to be healed. But notice what the man does. He starts explaining, making excuses. "I have no one to help me into the pool. Someone always gets there first." He's so comfortable with his story of delay that he almost misses the healer standing right in front of him. How many of you are that paralytic right now? So accustomed to waiting, so familiar with disappointment, so comfortable with your narrative of almost, but not quite, that you're about to miss Jesus saying, "Get up, this is your moment." November 21st. Not someday, now. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you. He only needs to delay you long enough to miss the train God sends. And that train, that divine appointment loaded with every breakthrough you've been praying for, it's pulling into the station on November 21st. But here's what's going to determine everything. There is one action heaven requires to break this trap. One specific spiritual decision that signals to the realm of the spirit that you're choosing. Calling over comfort, obedience over delay, destiny over the familiar prison of later, and skipping it. Dismissing it. Scrolling past it because you're tired or skeptical or comfortable, that destroys your breakthrough. Not because God withdraws his love, but because you forfeit your boarding pass. I'm going to reveal that action to you shortly. But first, you need to understand something deeper. You need to see what's really been happening in the invisible realm while you've been living your visible life. Because November 21st isn't random. It's the convergence point of spiritual forces that have been circling your destiny since before you were born. If this message is hitting something deep in your spirit, if you feel that familiar stirring, that holy restlessness that always shows up before God moves, tap that like button right now. Not for me, for the other chosen one, scrolling past, who's walking blindly toward November 21st, with no idea what's waiting. Let this message find them before it's too late. But now I need to show you what's really been happening behind the veil. Because once you see it, you'll never look at November 21st the same way again. You know what nobody tells you about breakthrough? It doesn't announce itself with trumpets and fanfare. It comes disguised as pressure, as silence, as the heaviest spiritual weight you've ever carried right before the door swings open. And right now, if you're honest with yourself, you feel it, don't you? That strange heaviness in your chest when you wake up at 3 a.m. That sense of being watched by forces you can't see. That feeling like the air itself has changed thicker, more electric, more alive. You've been telling yourself it's just stress, just age, just your mind playing tricks. But what if I told you that what you're feeling isn't random? What if the pressure building in your spirit right now is the sound of heaven preparing to move? Listen to me carefully, beloved. Something is shifting in the atmosphere around your life. You've noticed it in the small things. Relationships that were fine last month suddenly feel strained. Old memories you buried decades ago are resurfacing without warning. Faces you haven't thought about in years. Conversations that cut deep. Moments of failure and shame you thought you'd forgiven yourself for. Your dreams have changed too, haven't they? Vivid, strange, full of symbolism you can't quite decode but somehow know matters. This isn't coincidence. This is preparation. You see, the Bible reveals a pattern that most preachers won't tell you about. Every single breakthrough in Scripture was preceded by unbearable pressure, not after the blessing before it. Not during the celebration, during the silence. God has a strategy, and it's the same strategy he's been using since Genesis. He increases the pressure right before he releases the promise. Think about Joseph. Genesis 41 tells us he spent 2 full years forgotten in that Egyptian prison after interpreting the cupbearer's dream. 2 years of silence after he'd already served time for a crime he didn't commit. 2 years of watching the sun rise and set through iron bars, wondering if God had abandoned his promise. The pressure must have been crushing. Every day that passed felt like confirmation that he'd heard wrong, dreamed wrong, hoped wrong. But that pressure wasn't punishment. It was positioning. Because when Pharaoh finally called for him, Joseph didn't just get released, he got elevated. In one day, he went from prisoner to prime minister. Genesis 41-14 says, "Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him quickly out of the dungeon." Quickly. After years of slow torture, heaven moved quickly. But the breakthrough only came after the pressure nearly broke him. Or think about Moses. 80 years old, tending sheep in the wilderness, convinced his purpose had expired with his youth. Exodus 3 records the moment everything changed: the burning bush, the voice of God, the impossible assignment. But here's what most people miss. Moses had been in that wilderness for 40 years. 40 years of silence. 40 years of wondering if the passion he'd felt in Egypt was just youthful arrogance. 40 years of pressure building in his soul while he watched sheep eat grass and nothing else happened. Until it did. And what about Sarah? She waited 25 years for the promise of Isaac. 25 years of watching her body age past childbearing. 25 years of people whispering behind her back that she'd never be a mother. 25 years of pressure so intense that when God finally spoke the promise again in Genesis 18, she laughed. Not with joy, with disbelief. The pressure had nearly crushed her faith entirely, but God wasn't late. He was loading the promise with so much power that when it finally manifested, it would birth nations, not just a baby. Do you see the pattern? Chosen one. Every elder in the Bible carried the heaviest test right before breakthrough. Not the youngest, not the strongest. The elders. The ones who had survived long enough to be refined by fire, tested by time, and trusted with weight that would destroy weaker vessels. That's you right now. You're not being forgotten. You're being forged. The pressure you're feeling as November 21st approaches, that heaviness, that spiritual claustrophobia, that sense that something massive is about to happen, but you can't see it yet. That's not God abandoning you. That's God positioning you. Because what He's about to release in your life is so significant, so powerful, so beyond anything you've prayed for, that if it came without the pressure first, you wouldn't have the strength to steward it. God isn't testing you to fail you. He's testing you to trust you with the breakthrough you've prayed for your entire life. Think about it. You've been praying for this since your 40s. You've been crying out for this since your 50s. You've been believing for this through your 60s and 70s. And every year that passed without manifestation added another layer of pressure. Another question. Another moment of doubt. Another night of wondering if you'd heard God's voice correctly or if you'd been chasing wind. But what if every single year of waiting was adding weight to your promise? What if the delay wasn't denial but divine compounding? What if God has been letting the pressure build precisely because what's coming requires someone who's been tested at depths most people will never understand? You don't get chosen for easy assignments. You get chosen because you survived what should have killed you. And survival at your age, with your story, with your scars, that's not luck. That's proof that you carry something heaven refuses to let hell destroy. The pressure is building for a reason. November 21st is coming for a purpose. And if you can hold on just a little longer, if you can resist the urge to quit 3 feet from gold, you're about to discover why God made you wait this long. But here's what I need you to understand. This test has a pass divided by fail option. You can walk through November 21st blind and miss it entirely, or you can position yourself spiritually and step into what heaven has been circling in red ink since before you were born. Comment right now. I will not miss my test. This isn't just words on a screen. This is your spiritual agreement with heaven, that you're awake, you're ready, and you refuse to sleep through your own breakthrough. Because what I'm about to show you next will explain exactly what heaven is requiring on November 21st, and why missing this one specific action collapses everything God built while you were waiting. Now listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you has been hidden in plain sight for centuries. It's been whispered in the courts of heaven. It's been sealed in Scripture. And on November 21st, it becomes your personal invitation. Heaven is not asking for your money. Heaven is not demanding a pilgrimage. Heaven is not requiring you to fast for 40 days or climb some mountain in search of enlightenment. What heaven requires on November 21st is something far more powerful, something that terrifies hell, something so simple that most people will miss it entirely. Heaven requires your yes, but not just any yes. Not the casual sure. Lord, you've whispered 1,000 times while your mind wandered to doctor's appointments and grocery lists. I'm talking about a yes so deliberate, so intentional, so surrendered that it splits the atmosphere between where you are and where God has been trying to take you for decades. You see, beloved, there's a difference between praying and positioning. There's a chasm between asking God to move and agreeing to move with Him. And November 21st is the day heaven has marked on the calendar as your positioning moment. Let me show you something that will shake you to your core. In Joshua chapter 3, the Israelites stood at the edge of the Jordan River. For 40 years they'd been wandering. For 40 years they'd been waiting. For 40 years they'd been one generation away from promise. And then God gave them the strangest instruction. He told the priests to pick up the Ark of the Covenant and step into the river while it was still flooding. Did you catch that? Step into the flooding river, not after it parted, not when it was safe, not when they could see the other side. Step in while the water was still raging. Joshua 3:13 records what happened next. As soon as the priests who carry the Ark of the Lord set foot in the Jordan, its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap. As soon as, not eventually, not someday, not when you feel ready. As soon as they stepped in, the impossible became inevitable. That's November 21st, dear one. That's your step-in moment. But here's what most people don't understand about divine appointments. God doesn't move because we're perfect. He moves because we're present. He doesn't respond to our worthiness. He responds to our willingness. And willingness requires 3 specific acts that you must not skip on November 21st. First, you must create a sacred pause. Not 5 minutes squeezed between breakfast and your morning pills. Not a quick prayer while you're scrolling through Facebook. I'm talking about a deliberate halt to your normal routine, a full stop, a moment where you turn off the television, silence your phone, and sit in the presence of the Almighty with nothing between you and Him except raw honesty. Psalm 46:10 doesn't say, think about being still. It commands, be still and know that I am God. In the Hebrew, that word still means to let go, to release, to stop striving. On November 21st, you must physically stop. Create space. Because God is about to download instructions that your busy mind has been too cluttered to receive. Second, you must speak a declaration of obedience. And I don't mean think it, I don't mean feel it. I mean open your mouth and let heaven hear your voice align with its will. There is power in the spoken word that the silent thought can never carry. Romans 10:17 tells us, faith comes by hearing, not by thinking, not by wishing, by hearing. And sometimes the ears that need to hear your faith the most are your own. On November 21st, you will speak these words out loud. Lord, I surrender my timeline to yours. I release my plans for your purpose. Whatever you say next, my answer is yes. Do you understand what happens when you speak that declaration? You're not just making a promise to God. You're breaking a contract with delay. You're canceling an agreement with disappointment. You're terminating a relationship with almost. Third, and this is where most people stumble, you must release the old season. Not honor it, not carry it with you. Release it. Let it die. Because Ecclesiastes 3:1 warns us, to everything there is a season. But here's what that verse doesn't say. It doesn't say you get to live in 2 seasons simultaneously. It doesn't say you can carry yesterday's burdens into tomorrow's blessings. On November 21st, you will name out loud what must be released. That bitterness toward your children who don't call enough. That resentment toward the spouse who left. that shame about the business that failed, that fear that your best years are behind you. You will speak it, and you will release it into the hands of the God who makes all things new. This is not therapy, beloved. This is spiritual surgery, and surgery requires your consent. Here's the climax you need to understand. This single moment is the doorway. Skipping it shuts the gate. Doing it opens what has been locked for years. You've been standing at your Jordan River your entire life. The water's been flooding. The promise has been visible on the other side. But you've been waiting for the conditions to be perfect. Waiting to feel ready. Waiting for confirmation. Waiting for someone to go first. November 21st is God saying, stop waiting. Start stepping. Right now, I need you to do something. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just respond. Whisper out loud, right where you are, Lord, on November 21st, I will show up. Did you say it? Did your lips move? Because that wasn't just a prayer. That was a covenant. And heaven just witnessed your agreement. But the question burning in your spirit right now is this. What happens after you show up? What comes next when you say yes? When you pause, when you declare, when you release? Because November 21st isn't the destination, it's the ignition. And what ignites on that day will either consume your delays or expose your disobedience. Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. Every single breakthrough you've been praying for, every financial miracle, every restored relationship, every healing that's been delayed for decades has a delivery date. And November 21st is stamped on the envelope. But here's what terrifies me about what I'm seeing in the spirit realm right now. Most of you will ignore it. You'll treat it like any other Friday. You'll scroll past this message. You'll say, I'll deal with it later. And in that moment of hesitation, in that split second of dismissal, something catastrophic happens in the heavenly realm. Your breakthrough hesitates. You see, dear one, God doesn't force his blessings through closed doors. He doesn't break down walls of disobedience. When heaven schedules an appointment and you don't show up, the angels assigned to your deliverance stand still. They don't move forward. They don't move backward. They wait. And while they're waiting, you're aging. While they're waiting, your bills are piling up. While they're waiting, your body is getting weaker and your hope is getting thinner. Think about the children of Israel at Kadesh Barnea. God said, go in and possess the land. But they hesitated, they doubted, they said, let's think about this. And that hesitation cost them 40 years. An entire generation died in the wilderness because they missed one appointment with obedience. Numbers 14:34 records the verdict. According to the number of the days in which you spied out the land, 40 days, for each day you shall bear your guilt 1 year, namely 40 years. 1 day of disobedience. 40 years of consequences. You've already lost enough time, beloved. You prayed in your 40s, and God answered in silence. You cried out in your 50s and heard nothing but your own echo. You're in your 60s, 70s, 80s now, wondering if God even remembers your name. But what if the silence wasn't denial? What if it was delay? What if everything you asked for has been accumulating interest in heaven's vault, waiting for this exact moment when your faith meets God's timing? But if you skip November 21st, your alignment falters. Let me explain what I mean by alignment. In the spiritual realm, there are moments when heaven and earth sync up, when the prayers of the saints, the purposes of God, and the readiness of your heart all click into place like tumblers in a lock. When that happens, doors don't just open, they explode off their hinges. Provision doesn't trickle, it floods. Healing doesn't come gradually, it manifests instantly. But alignment is fragile. It requires your participation. It demands your obedience. And when you ignore a divine appointment, you don't just miss a blessing, you disrupt the entire sequence. Heaven's timing resets. Not because God is petty, but because his gifts require vessels that are positioned to receive them. Think about Naaman the leper in 2 Kings chapter 5. Elisha told him, "Go, Wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean. 7 times, not 6, not 8, 7. But Naaman almost missed his miracle because he thought the instruction was too simple. He wanted something dramatic. He wanted the prophet to wave his hand and call on the name of the Lord. He almost walked away from his healing because he despised the appointed method. How many of you are about to make the same mistake? You're waiting for something spectacular. You're waiting for angels to appear in your living room. You're waiting for a burning bush in your backyard. But God is saying, I'm giving you a specific date, a specific action, a specific key. Will you use it, or will you walk away because it doesn't match your expectations? And here's what breaks my heart. You've lost enough time already. You cannot afford one more missed moment. You're not 25 anymore with decades to recover from mistakes. You're not 35 with endless opportunities stretching before you. You're in the final quarter of your life, and every day matters. Every divine appointment is critical. Every moment of obedience could be the difference between dying with your promises or dying in your promises. Let me tell you what the enemy is doing right now. He's not trying to make you sin. He's not trying to make you curse God. He knows you're too seasoned for that. No, his strategy is far more subtle and far more deadly. He's trying to make you delay. He's whispering, you can deal with this next week. You can obey God later. You're tired now. Rest first. Act later. But the enemy doesn't fear your prayer. He fears your obedience. He doesn't tremble when you cry out to God. He trembles when you do what God says. Because prayer without obedience is just noise. Faith without works is dead. And breakthrough without action is just a dream that dies in your sleep. James 2:17 cuts through every excuse. Faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. You can believe God all you want. You can quote scripture until your voice gives out. But if you don't obey when he gives you specific instructions, your faith becomes a corpse. Beautiful, well-dressed, carefully preserved, but dead. So let me ask you directly, what's it going to be? Are you going to treat November 21st like every other day you've wasted? Or are you going to mark it, prepare for it, and show up when heaven calls your name? Because I'm about to show you exactly what you need to do during that sacred moment on November 21st. The specific spiritual action that unlocks everything. The key that's been hidden in plain sight. The obedience that breaks delay and releases decades of stored-up breakthrough. But first, you need to decide. Right now, are you in or are you out? Now listen to me very carefully, chosen one. What I'm about to give you isn't theory. This isn't another motivational sermon you'll forget by Sunday. This is the exact spiritual protocol heaven has been waiting for you to activate on November 21st. And if you miss even one step, the door doesn't just close, it seals. You see, most people think breakthrough is about praying harder. But what if I told you that God isn't waiting for more words? What if he's been waiting for you to stop talking and start positioning? What if the reason your prayers have felt like they're bouncing off brass heavens is because you've been asking God to meet you where you are, instead of positioning yourself where he's already standing? November 21st is not a day you prepare for, beloved. November 21st is a day that's been preparing for you since before your first heartbeat. And there's a 7-minute window, just 7 minutes, that will determine whether you walk through the door or watch it close from the outside. Here's what most preachers won't tell you. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes 3:1, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." But that word time in Hebrew, it's not chronos, the ticking of clocks. It's kairos, the appointed moment when heaven crashes into earth and everything shifts in an instant. November 21st is your kairos moment. And kairos moments don't wait for you to feel ready. They demand you show up. So here's exactly what heaven is watching for. Not tomorrow, not next week. On Friday, November 21st, at whatever hour your spirit tells you to begin, you're going to do something radical. Something that will feel strange to your flesh, but familiar to your soul. First, you're going to sit in complete stillness for 60 seconds. Not meditation, not mindfulness. Stillness. Let the noise of your life fall like snow in Central Park at midnight, silent, soft, covering everything, until all you hear is your own heartbeat and the whisper of the Holy Spirit. 60 seconds. That's all. But in that silence, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. You're not just sitting, you're creating sacred space. Then, you're going to whisper, not shout. Whisper your surrender. Just 4 words. Lord, I give you this day. That's it. But listen to what you're actually doing. You're not asking God to bless your plans for November 21st. You're handing him the entire day as a blank check and saying, whatever you write on this, I'll cash it. That level of surrender terrifies hell, because it means you've stopped trying to be your own God. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. You're going to release the one thing that's been weighing on your heart like a stone, the thing you've been carrying for years, the thing you pray about every night but never truly let go of. That relationship that ended and still haunts you. That financial debt that feels like chains. That diagnosis the doctor gave you that you've been fighting in secret. Whatever it is, you're going to speak it out loud and say, God, I release this into your hands. I'm done carrying what you never asked me to hold. Do you understand what just happened? You didn't just pray. You performed a spiritual transaction. You traded your burden for his peace, and heaven recognized the exchange. But you're not finished. Now you're going to declare your alignment. Not just agreement alignment. You're going to say these exact words. I choose your path. I choose your pace. Not my timeline, but your perfect timing. Why does this matter? Because James 4:7 says, submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Submission isn't weakness, chosen one. It's warfare. When you align your will with his, you become untouchable to every force that's been delaying your destiny. Now, in that stillness, you're going to ask God for just one instruction, not a blueprint for your whole life, not answers to every question you've been carrying, just one clear instruction for your next step. And then this is critical, you're going to wait. You're going to sit there in silence until something rises in your spirit. A word, a name, a scripture, a direction. And when it comes, you're going to trust it, even if it makes no logical sense. Then you're going to seal this moment with gratitude. You're going to thank God for what he's about to do before you see any evidence. That's not presumption, that's faith. Hebrews 11:1 says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You're calling things that are not as though they were. You're speaking to your Friday, November 21st right now, and declaring, you belong to God, and breakthrough is already walking toward me. Finally, you're going to write down whatever came to your heart in that silence, not for memory, for testimony. Because 30 days from now, when you're standing in the answer, you're going to look back at what you wrote on November 21st and realize that God was already orchestrating everything while you were still learning to trust. Now let me tell you something that's going to rock you. You are not preparing for November 21st. November 21st is preparing for you. That Friday has been circled in heaven's calendar since before the foundation of the world. Every closed door, every delayed answer, every moment you felt forgotten, it was all leading to this appointed hour when God says, now. Everything shifts now, but it requires your participation. God won't force his way into a heart that won't open. He won't crash through a door you refuse to unlock. November 21st is the day you stop being a spectator in your own breakthrough and become a participant in heaven's plan. If this is landing in your spirit like lightning, if something inside you is trembling with recognition, type, I receive the Nov 21 instruction in the comments right now, not later, right now. Because heaven sees agreement, and your obedience unlocks what your circumstances have locked. But here's what you need to understand about why this specific date carries such weight. and why the enemy has been working overtime to keep you distracted. You want to know what happens after you say yes on November 21st. You think it ends with a prayer, a declaration, a moment of obedience. Oh, beloved, that's where most people stop reading the story. That's where they close the book and miss the plot twist that changes everything. Let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. Your yes on Friday, November 21st, doesn't close a chapter. It detonates a sequence. It flips a switch in the heavenly realm that has been aching to be activated. And what follows your obedience will leave you speechless. Picture this with me. Right now, as I speak these words, there are prayers you prayed 20 years ago sitting in golden bowls before the throne of God. Revelation 5-8 tells us about these bowls of incense, which are the prayers of God's holy people. You thought those prayers evaporated into nothing. You thought God forgot about that desperate cry you whispered in 2003 when the diagnosis came. That broken-hearted plea in 2008 when the economy collapsed and took your retirement with it. That midnight sob in 2015 when your child walked away and never looked back. But heaven doesn't forget. Heaven stores. Heaven accumulators. Heaven waits for the appointed time when your obedience gives God legal permission to pour out what's been saved. November 21st is the day those bowls tip over. You see, dear one, the moment you align yourself with God's specific instruction on that Friday, something shifts in the unseen realm. It's like heaven flips a switch, and suddenly what was frozen for decades begins to thaw. It's like angels who have been standing at attention suddenly receive their marching orders. She said yes. He finally agreed. Move now. Release what we've been holding. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Your obedience isn't the end of the story, it's the ignition. Think about Lazarus for a moment. He'd been dead 4 days. 4 days of decay, of hopelessness, of friends and family, accepting that it was over. But when Jesus spoke, Lazarus, come forth, what happened next wasn't gradual. It wasn't a slow recovery. It was immediate, explosive resurrection. One moment dead, the next moment walking out of the tomb wrapped in grave clothes. Your November 21st obedience is Jesus standing at your tomb speaking your name. But here's what most believers miss, and this is critical. The resurrection doesn't just affect the dead man, it affects everyone watching. John 11:45 says, Therefore many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. Your breakthrough becomes their belief. Your obedience triggers a chain reaction that ripples through your bloodline, your community, your sphere of influence. When heaven responds to your yes, people start noticing something different about you. They can't name it, but they feel it. That coworker who's been cold for 3 years suddenly starts a conversation. That estranged family member calls out of nowhere. That door you stopped knocking on years ago creaks open by itself. I'm talking to the 72-year-old woman watching this who's been invisible for a decade. After November 21st, people will seek you out. Why? Because you'll be carrying something they need but can't find anywhere else. The anointing that comes from obedience in the face of impossibility. I'm talking to the 80-year-old man who thought his voice didn't matter anymore. After November 21st, when you speak, people will lean in. Why? Because authority doesn't come from age, it comes from alignment with heaven's timing. But let me tell you about the signs that follow obedience, because you need to recognize them when they appear. First, there's the lifting. You know that heaviness you've carried on your shoulders for so long, you forgot what lightness feels like. It's been sitting there like an invisible boulder, crushing you with anxiety about money, about health, about legacy. After your November 21st obedience, that weight doesn't gradually decrease, it lifts. Suddenly, completely. You'll wake up one morning and realize you're breathing differently. The pressure that's been squeezing your chest for 20 years just released. Second, there's the clarity. Your mind has been foggy, hasn't it? Decisions that should be simple feel impossible. You've been stuck in analysis paralysis, unable to move forward. because nothing makes sense anymore. But after obedience, it's like someone turns on the lights in a dark room. Suddenly you see the path. You know what to do. The confusion that paralyzed you evaporates, and divine wisdom floods in. Third, there's the acceleration. Things that should take years start happening in days. Opportunities appear from places you never looked. People you've never met become divine connections. Finances shift in ways that defy logic. It's not gradual improvement, it's supernatural speed. This is what Isaiah 60:22 promises. The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time I will do this swiftly. Swiftly, not slowly, not eventually, swiftly. But here's the mystery most believers overlook, and this is where the second layer of revelation opens up. The aftermath of November 21st carries a hidden blessing that only the discerning catch. You see, your obedience doesn't just unlock your breakthrough, it positions you as a gatekeeper, a portal, a person through whom heaven can now funnel blessing to others who are stuck where you used to be. God is about to make you dangerous to the kingdom of darkness, not because you got louder, but because you got obedient. And obedient people terrify hell because they can't be manipulated anymore. So let me ask you this, and let it settle deep in your spirit. What if the heaviness you've carried wasn't meant to crush you, but to prepare you to carry someone else's burden after you're set free? What if your breakthrough is the testimony that saves your grandchild's faith? What if your obedience on November 21st becomes the hinge point for your entire family's destiny? Type "Heaven heard me" in the comments right now, not as wishful thinking, as declaration, as agreement with what God is already orchestrating in the unseen realm. Because, beloved, what follows your obedience isn't just personal victory, it's generational shift. And the enemy knows it. That's why he's been fighting you so hard. That's why November 21st terrifies him. But here's what you need to understand about the specific action required on that day and why missing it collapses everything we just talked about. Listen to me, chosen one. What I'm about to tell you might save your life, not your physical life, but your spiritual destiny. You think November 21st is the finish line? No, it's the starting gun. And the moment you cross that threshold, the moment heaven releases what's been stored in your name, hell is going to throw everything it has at you. Not because you failed, because you succeeded. The enemy doesn't retreat when you break through. He reorganizes. Think about it. When Israel finally escaped Egypt after 400 years of bondage, when they walked out with wealth in their hands and freedom in their hearts, what happened? Exodus 14:5 says, "When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their minds. After the plagues, after the deaths, after watching the Red Sea part, Pharaoh still sent his fastest chariots, his strongest warriors, his most vicious attack, not before the breakthrough, but after it. Why? Because the enemy knows something you're just discovering. Once you taste freedom, once you step into the promise, once you walk in the authority God assigned you before time began, you become a threat to every chain, every curse, every demonic stronghold in your bloodline. So let me tell you exactly what's coming. And I need you to hear this with both ears open, because if you're not prepared for the counterattack, it will feel like you did something wrong when you actually did everything right. Within 48 hours after November 21st, maybe sooner, you're going to feel a wave of discouragement so heavy it'll take your breath away. You'll wake up on Saturday or Sunday morning and think, nothing changed. I knew this wasn't real. That's not your voice. That's the voice of the accuser working overtime because he saw what just shifted in the spirit realm. Old temptations are going to resurface. Sins you thought you buried 10 years ago will knock on your door like they never left. That addiction you conquered, it's going to whisper. That bitterness you released, it's going to try to move back in. That fear that used to paralyze you, it's going to send you a text message at 2 a.m. And here's the one that catches most people off guard. People from your past are going to reach out. The ex who broke your heart, the friend who betrayed you, the family member who hasn't called in 3 years. They'll show up with apologies, with emergencies, with drama designed to pull you back into the Egypt you just escaped. You need to understand something that will change how you fight this battle. The attack after the breakthrough is not proof that the breakthrough failed. It's proof that the breakthrough is real. Let me say that again for the ones in the back. The intensity of the resistance is evidence of the value of what you're carrying. Pharaoh didn't chase the weak slaves. He chased the ones loaded with treasure. Hell doesn't mobilize against people who pose no threat. The fact that you're under fire right now means you're carrying something the kingdom of darkness desperately wants to steal before you learn how to use it. Peter knew this. In Luke 22:31, Jesus looked at him and said, "Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat." Satan asked permission. Why? Because Peter was about to step into an authority that would shake nations. The attack wasn't random, it was targeted, strategic, designed to take him out before Pentecost, before the keys, before the power. But here's what Jesus said next. "But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail." Not that the attack wouldn't come, that your faith would survive it. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel like you're losing your mind. You're going to wonder if you made the whole thing up. Strange fears that didn't exist 2 weeks ago are going to crawl into your thoughts. Anxiety about things that haven't even happened yet. Panic about losing what you just received. That's the counterattack. And it comes for everyone who crosses the threshold. But I need you to do something right now that's going to anchor your soul for what's ahead. I need you to speak these words out loud, even if you're alone in your living room, even if your voice shakes, even if you don't fully believe them yet. Say it, "I won't go back." Say it again, louder this time, "I won't go back." Type it in the comments right now. Not for me, for accountability. Because when the chariots come, and they're coming, you need a record of the moment you made your decision. You need witnesses in the cloud who saw you plant your flag. The Israelites stood at the edge of the Red Sea with Egyptian chariots bearing down on them, and they panicked. They cried out to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die?" But Moses said something that's going to get you through the next 30 days. Exodus 14:13. "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today." Stand firm. Not run. Not hide. Not negotiate with Pharaoh. Stand. Because what's chasing you is already defeated. The breakthrough you received on November 21st didn't just open your future, it sealed your enemy's fate. He's not attacking because he's winning. He's attacking because he's lost, and he knows it. But here's the question that will determine everything. When the counterattack comes, will you remember who you are? Listen to me, dear chosen one. What I'm about to tell you might be the hardest truth you'll hear today, but it's also the most liberating. After November 21st, some of you are going to experience something that will shake you to your core. A door you've been pushing on for years will slam shut. An opportunity you've been praying for will evaporate like morning mist over the Hudson. A relationship you thought was your answer will suddenly dissolve. And in that moment, you're going to feel abandoned, forgotten, punished. But what if I told you that closed door isn't rejection, it's redirection? You see, for 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been taught that disappointment means God is angry with you. That when doors close, it's because you didn't pray hard enough, didn't have enough faith, didn't deserve His blessing. But beloved, that's a lie straight from the pit of hell. Look at Joseph. Genesis 37-50 tells his story, and it's a masterclass in divine detours. His brothers threw him in a pit, detour. He was sold into slavery, detour. He was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, detour. He was forgotten in prison for years, detour after detour after detour. But Genesis 50-20 reveals the secret. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Every closed door was protection. Every delay was positioning. Every no was redirecting him toward a yes so massive it would save nations. Why am I telling you this? Because right now some of you are sitting in your apartments in Queens, your houses in Brooklyn, your retirement homes in the Bronx, and you're looking back at your life wondering why nothing turned out the way you planned, why your marriage ended, why your children moved away, why your career never reached the heights you dreamed of, why your body gave out before your spirit did. And the enemy has been whispering the same lie for decades. You failed. You're too old. You missed your moment. But what if every detour was actually divine deliverance? Think about it. That job you didn't get in your 30s. What if you'd gotten it and missed meeting the person who would change your life? That house you couldn't afford in your 40s. What if you'd bought it and been trapped when God wanted to move you? That relationship that fell apart in your 50s. What if staying in it would have killed the very thing God was birthing in you? Here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. God is not done with you. He's just done letting you walk into rooms that cannot honor you. Let me give you a New York metaphor that'll make this crystal clear. You know how sometimes you're walking down Fifth Avenue and suddenly the street is blocked? Construction barriers everywhere. Detour signs pointing you 3 blocks out of your way. And you're frustrated because you just want to get where you're going. But what's really happening? They're building something. They're laying new foundation. They're creating infrastructure that will serve that street for the next 100 years. Your life is under construction, beloved. God blocked certain streets not to punish you, but because He's building something better, something stronger, something that will carry not just you, but generations after you. In Jeremiah 29:11, God declares, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." But notice it doesn't say His plans will look like what you expected. It doesn't promise the route you mapped out. It promises the destination He ordained. So when November 21st comes and goes, and some door closes that you desperately wanted to stay open, I need you to remember this moment. I need you to whisper to yourself, this isn't rejection. This is recalibration. God is changing my route because He knows something about the road ahead that I cannot see. You've spent decades thinking closed doors meant you were cursed. But what if they meant you were chosen? What if God has been protecting you from settling for good when He's prepared great? What if every disappointment was actually an appointment with something better? Romans 8:28 settles it. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. Not some things, all things. Every detour, every delay, every door that slammed in your face. The question that will determine your next chapter is this: will you trust the detour, or will you spend your remaining years bitter about the roads you didn't take? Because, beloved, there's something waiting for you on the other side of November 21st. Something your human eyes cannot yet perceive. Something your natural mind cannot comprehend. And the very detour you're about to experience is the bridge that will carry you there. But to understand what that something is, I need to show you a prophetic metaphor that will make everything click into place. Listen to me, beloved. I need you to stop right where you are and let these words sink deep into the marrow of your bones, because what I'm about to tell you will shatter every lie you've believed about loss. You've spent decades thinking God took things from you. Your health, your spouse, your dreams, your financial security, your children's respect. You look back at your life and all you see are the empty spaces where something used to be. The chair at the dinner table that stays empty. The bank account that never recovers. The body that doesn't work like it used to. The church that forgot your name. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that God was in the taking business. That He was some cosmic thief who steals joy and leaves you with scraps. But what if I told you that everything you think was taken was actually traded? God never takes without giving. He only removes what limits you. Isaiah 61:3 says it plainly, "To give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Did you catch that? Beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for heaviness. This isn't subtraction. This is exchange. This is divine transaction. This is heaven saying, what you're holding is killing you. Let me give you what will heal you. But here's what breaks my heart. Here's what keeps me awake at 3 in the morning praying for people just like you. Most believers, especially those of you who've walked with God for 60, 70, 80 years, you're still clutching the ashes. You're still mourning what died 20 years ago. You're still wearing heaviness like it's your Sunday best. You think you're being faithful by holding on to the pain. You think remembering the loss honors what you had. But beloved, God is standing right in front of you with beauty in his hands, and you won't let go of the ashes long enough to receive it. Why? Because you're afraid. You're terrified that if you release the grief, you'll lose the memory. If you surrender the bitterness, you'll dishonor the betrayal. If you let go of the financial fear, you'll somehow invite more poverty. That's not faith. That's bondage. And November 21st is the day heaven is offering you the exchange you've been too afraid to make. Think about Job for a moment. This man lost everything: his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation, everything. And for months he sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery, wondering why God had abandoned him. His friends told him to curse God and die. His wife said give up. Logic said it's over. But Job 42:10 records something that will wreck you. And the Lord turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. Also the Lord gave Job twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Not the same amount, not a little more. Twice. Double portion. Overflow. Abundance that made the loss look like preparation for the blessing. But here's what nobody tells you about Job's restoration. It didn't happen while he was sitting in self-pity. It happened when he prayed for the very people who wounded him. The exchange required surrender. The beauty demanded he release the ashes. What are you still holding that God is asking you to trade? Is it the bitterness toward your children who don't call? Is it the resentment toward the church that forgot you? Is it the rage toward the spouse who left? Is it the fear that's convinced you your best days died with your youth? God is saying, give me that. I'll give you something better. Your joy is coming back. Not the shallow happiness you faked at family dinners. Real joy. The kind that bubbles up from a soul that's been healed. Your peace is coming back. Not the kind you manufactured through denial. Deep peace. The kind that makes you sleep through storms. Your purpose is waking up. Not the dreams you buried in 1987. Fresh vision. New assignments. Kingdom work that only someone with your scars can carry. But here's the urgency you need to feel in your chest right now. This exchange has an expiration date. November 21st isn't just symbolic, it's strategic. It's the day heaven has marked for mass deliverance. It's when the divine exchange goes into effect for those willing to participate. Malachi 3:10 dares you, bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. God literally challenges you to test him, to see if he's lying, to discover if the exchange is real. What you thought was gone forever is returning in a form you never imagined. That marriage that died, God's bringing companionship that won't break your heart. That money you lost, heaven's opening financial streams you never knew existed. That health that failed, divine strength is flooding your mortal body. That purpose you thought expired with retirement, God's about to show you that your most important work begins now. But you have to let go of what you're holding. You have to surrender the ashes. You have to make the trade. So I'm asking you right now, not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready right now. What are you trading to God on November 21st? What are you finally releasing so he can fill your hands with beauty? Declare it out loud where you're sitting. I'm ready for the exchange. Because, beloved, The divine transaction is about to begin, and what God gives after surrender will make everything you lost look like practice for what you're about to receive. But will you open your hands? Beloved, do you see it now? Do you finally understand what God has been doing all along? Everything, every closed door, every delayed answer, every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if heaven had forgotten your address, it was all leading to November 21st, not as punishment, as preparation, not as abandonment, as appointment. Your life has been like a circle waiting to close. For 70 years, maybe 80, maybe 90, you've been walking a path that seemed random, chaotic, senseless. But God doesn't operate in chaos. He operates in cycles, divine cycles. And November 21st was the point where heaven pressed the final line, where the beginning finally kissed the ending, where every fragment of your story suddenly made sense. Listen to what Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. Not some purposes. Every purpose, every single moment you thought was wasted, it was being woven into a tapestry you couldn't see because you were standing too close to the canvas. That betrayal in 1987 that shattered your heart, that was the first mark on the circle. The financial collapse in 2008 that left you eating canned soup and wondering if God cared, that was the second mark. The diagnosis in 2015 that made you question everything, that was the third. And November 21st, 2025, that was the point where God took his divine compass and connected every single mark into one unbroken line of purpose. This is why you could not skip that day. It wasn't just a date on a calendar that you flipped past on your way to Thanksgiving. It was destiny pressing against the fabric of time, demanding your attention, requiring your obedience, waiting for your yes. Think about the children of Israel at Jericho. They didn't understand why they had to march around those walls for 6 days in complete silence. 6 days of looking foolish. 6 days of nothing changing. 6 days of people mocking them, questioning them, wondering if their God was real or just another fairy tale. But on the seventh day, the appointed day, the prophetic day, the day that completed the circle, those walls didn't just crack. They collapsed. They obliterated. One shout from obedient lips, and what seemed permanent became rubble. November 21st was your seventh day. The day the circle closed. The day the march ended. The day heaven said, "Now watch what I do with your obedience." But here's what breaks my heart, chosen one. Here's what keeps me awake at 3 a.m. praying for people just like you. Some of you walked into November 21st and you didn't know. You woke up that Friday morning, you poured your coffee, you checked Facebook, you complained about the weather, you watched the news, you went to bed and you missed it. You missed your own coronation because nobody told you to look up. That's why this message exists. That's why you're hearing my voice right now. Because God is merciful enough to give you a second witness, a confirmation, a prophetic replay of what happened in the invisible realm while you were living in the visible one. You see, the test you passed without knowing you were being tested, that was November 21st, positioning you. The obedience you walked in when everything in you wanted to quit, that was the circle completing. The aftershock you felt, that strange stirring in your chest, that unexplainable peace that washed over you, even though nothing in your circumstances changed, that was heaven's signature on your breakthrough. Romans 8:28 promises us, "And we know that all things work together for good, to them that love God, to them who are the called according to his purpose." All things, not the good things, not the comfortable things, all things. Every tear, every loss, every moment you felt forgotten, it was all working, building, preparing, completing the circle. This is the prophetic full circle moment, beloved. This is where you finally understand that your story wasn't random, your pain wasn't pointless, your delay wasn't denial. It was divine geometry, God drawing a perfect circle with your life. And November 21st was the moment the line connected. The resistance you felt, That was hell, recognizing that the circle was closing and panicking, because once a divine circle closes, nothing in the kingdom of darkness can break it open again. The redirection you experienced, that was heaven moving you into precise alignment. The exchange that happened in the spirit realm, that was your years of faithfulness being converted into breakthrough currency. Every piece fits, every moment matters, every tear counted. But before we end, there is one last revelation. One final prophetic image God pressed into my spirit about November 21st. And when you hear it, everything, absolutely everything, will crystallize into perfect clarity. Are you ready to see the final piece? Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, November 21st was not just another day, it was your divine appointment, the moment heaven closed the circle on decades of preparation. Every tear, every trial, every moment you thought God had forgotten you was actually Him positioning you for this breakthrough. Second, the obedience you walked in, whether you knew it or not, has already shifted something in the spiritual realm. What you felt stirring in your chest wasn't your imagination. That was confirmation. That was heaven's signature on your next season. Third, your story is far from over. At 70, 80, 90 years old, you are not winding down, you are being wound up for your greatest chapter. But hear me clearly. You are not walking this path alone. The God who circled your name on November 21st is still working in your life right now, in this very moment. He hasn't brought you this far to abandon you. Romans 8:31 declares, "If God be for us, who can be against us?" And beyond that, you have a community right here, thousands of chosen ones who understand your struggle, who've walked similar paths, who are ready to stand with you in prayer. So let me ask you this. Now that you know what November 21st meant, now that you understand the circle has closed, what will you do with this breakthrough that's already in motion? Before you leave this sacred space, join me in prayer. Wherever you are, in your living room, your bedroom, your car, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul hearing my voice right now. Lord, you see their hearts, you know their struggles. You've counted every tear they've cried in secret. Tonight, I pray that you would settle their spirits with supernatural peace, open doors that no man can shut, release financial breakthrough, physical healing, restored relationships, and divine vindication over their lives. Father, let them feel your presence right now, that warm embrace that says, I see you, I love you, I'm not done with you yet. Give them strength for tomorrow, wisdom for every decision, and courage to walk in the authority you've already given them. Protect them from every attack of the enemy. Surround them with your favor, as with a shield. And Lord, let them wake up tomorrow knowing beyond any doubt that November 21st changed everything. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me what shifted for you on November 21st. What are you believing God for in this season? Don't hold back. This community will pray with you, stand with you, believe with you. And please, if this message touched your soul, share it with someone who needs to hear that their breakthrough is closer than they think. Someone out there is sitting in the exact place you were before you clicked on this video, and they need this word. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because your awakening has only just begun, and there's so much more God wants to reveal to you. Until we meet again, walk in your authority. You are chosen, you are loved, you are never alone. God bless you mightily, beloved. The circle is complete. Now walk in it.